Our next victim.
Are we recording video yet?
ICP.
Yeah. Okay. ICP?
Insane Clown Posse.
Yeah, I know. What about us reminds you of the next contestant on the Nun Game?
That's funny.
That was one of my favorite tracks.
Can I adjust this?
Yeah. Here.
How are you trying to adjust it?
Yeah.
I just want to go down a little bit. I feel like it's gonna. There. Okay.
Do you want to get an audio check? So just talking to the mic so that
I
Dave
have
can hear.
my headphones on. We'll just start the conversation like this, and then
You can tell her to get closer or farther away.
Yeah.
You don't have to be nervous.
Yeah. You don't, and you don't have to
be
eat
like
the
on,
mic.
you can
No.
just talk.
Yeah,
Okay.
just talk.
Just talk.
No, just forget about the mic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
So, because this story's in my head, I have to get it out now. We were talking about ICP. So you're my age.
Yep.
But you went to Edgerton.
No.
Where'd you go? You're an Indiana person.
I went to Prairie Heights.
So you didn't know any of the Eden people.
No.
You know that we had a couple kids pass away when I was in school. Derek Livensparger and Tyler Moore. Are you aware of that?
I remember vaguely, but I
didn't know if you were aware of that because Scott's from Eden.
You'd have to give me year-wise. Scott and I got together like 1999.
Oh, interesting. So it was like 2000. I was a senior. I was going into senior year.
So he probably told me about it, but not knowing a lot of people.
Tyler and I, Derek to an extent, we all played football together, and we used to sing ICP. So that was when The Great Malenko came out. And we used to sing ICP on the, because we were all linemen.
Yeah.
And we used to sing on the line, and we used to get in so much trouble because we would sing all of the lyrics. And you're not supposed to cuss. Yeah. The refs didn't like you to cuss. But when I went to school 25 years ago, you could get away with a little bit more.
Yeah.
And we'd go up to these Michigan schools, these Michigan hillbillies, and we would sing ICP Great Malenko on the line. Like while we were waiting on the count, like while the ball was actively going to be snapped, we would be singing that.
Do you remember it?
No. If you played the song, I jammed out to it like 3 weeks ago.
Did you?
Yeah. Steph's from Michigan, so she knows about ICP, right?
Yeah.
And we were cruising somewhere like a year ago, and I have it on my phone, like in my playlist, and I only have that one, The Great Malenko.
Just that one song?
The whole album.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
But,
I have 3 songs from them on there.
Yes.
And it all started because Kendall comes home and he's like, Mom, you got to listen to this song.
Oh, good Lord.
And I'm like, some of the rap and I'm going, no. So then it started going through and I started playing like for what we listened to. Oh, you were playing
stuff that you listened to.
Yes.
So he didn't come home with ICP.
No, but it's his music that he likes. No, the one time he did come home was like, you got to listen to this song. It was Weird Al, and it was Amish Paradise.
You were like, yeah, I was there for that.
Scott's like, I had
like,
the CD somewhere,
I was
dude.
17 when that was popular. Yeah.
Like,
I had that on tape.
Yeah. But Afro Man is another one.
Afro Man.
That
Two Live Crew. Did you listen to Two Live Crew?
I did. Yeah. My brother was more that, but I did.
I had it just because it was cool to have the tape. And again, we're talking tape, not CD.
Yeah.
And you're old enough, you definitely had the tape.
100%.
Yeah, because Two Live Crew was, we were 5-6 years behind, and you were there when it was popular.
Oh yeah. I graduated in 91, so.
God, you're old.
Yeah, I am.
Were we in middle school? Or elementary?
To be fair, we're old too.
You guys were 8 when I graduated. Yeah.
Yeah, because we're 10 years younger.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
If audio sounds good, let's get started.
Yeah. I think we are already started.
We started like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. But yeah, audio's good. You mean take your headphones off?
No,
is that what you're trying to say?
Flip them around. Put them upside down. Do whatever you want to do. Yeah,
I'm going to wear them like this.
The whole podcast.
The whole podcast.
Yeah, that's an order. So today's episode, we're going to talk to Jen Briggle. Jennifer. Yeah, that's all that face.
Don't call me the other one. That's all that I ask.
No Jenny from the blog.
No,
got it. Okay.
No.
So Jen Briggle. Jen's our. You do everything now. You started.
I tried to.
Yeah, you were in receiving. When you started, and you haven't been here that long. You've been 7-8 months. It's been 6 months. Mm-hmm. You started in the receiving department. We had a need for somebody that was a little bit more organized and had a little bit more finesse to receive in the packages. I don't know that you actually qualify for either of those things. No, the organized thing maybe. Finesse, definitely not. But no. So you started in the receiving department, and now you do compliance as well.
Yeah. You have me started on that.
I didn't say you do compliance well. I said you do compliance as well.
I know what you said.
Well, we're going to talk about that today, though, and we're gonna talk about some things. This is and you know Chad was on the podcast.
Yep.
We're going to introduce the employees of Crossed Rifles, and you were lucky number 2.
Yeah.
Right. So we Chad was the guinea pig.
I'm not as exciting as Chad, but
I don't know. Chad is the favorite. We determined that months ago. Chad's the favorite employee. Everybody comes in and asks for Luke, and they really actually want to see Chad.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
And you don't work up front that much, so you don't have a following like Chad does.
No.
And you're not here on Saturdays. That's probably the big reason. So we do our Saturday morning live at 10 a.m. on Facebook.
Yeah.
And Chad is the main character.
I'm normally watching. So
you watch and comment.
I do.
Yes. And you get to see all of the things, like if I mention, oh, hey, by the way, I bought 27 of these things. They'll be here this week. That's when you get to learn
That's
that.
what started it. Was I'm going to run a sale, and I thought, oh gosh, I want to listen to see what these are, like what the sale's going to be, and then it's just progressed from that. And you are right, Scott will be at one end of the couch, and I'm at the other, and we're both watching.
How long have you been married?
We've been married.
How long have you been together?
23 years.
Yeah, so that totally makes sense.
Yeah, married.
I'm surprised
18.
you're still watching in the same room.
No, because we're normally both down there. I might be in the kitchen and watching, but then he'll make comment, and he's like, I'll hear him chuckling. I'm like, so then I'm watching the comments because I know he made a comment about something.
He said something.
Yeah, I know him all too well.
Scott's laughing at his own jokes.
Yeah.
That's great.
Old man syndrome.
Well, I've known him for a long time. I think he's always done that.
Yes, he has.
Well, that's a good lead way into. Do you remember how you and I met?
Honestly, I figured it was from Josh and Aaron.
It's got to be, right?
It has to be.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Not as specific.
I think it's probably because we were all drinking too much.
That happened quite often.
So, because I'll tell the story. I thought that's it. Scott is really good. I'll just get it all out there. My ex-wife's sister's husband is one of Scott's best friends.
Yes. Yep.
So, ex-wife, sister's husband's thing. And then you're the ex-wife's sister's husband's best friend's wife. Yeah. That's actually correct, too. I didn't
get a flow chart.
I didn't screw that one up.
And now I'm best friends with his wife.
Yes.
So it's all like,
So, we all hung out back in the day. I mean, we're talking 15 years ago. And we drank way too much. None of us really had a lot of money back then.
It was BC, before children.
We drank a lot of cheap beer in the driveway of our houses.
Yep.
So, I don't remember a lot of those days.
Turning the radio up and just
jam.
Whatever.
And we definitely never got firearms out and played in the backyard while drinking.
Of course not, because that would be totally irresponsible.
That's right.
That's an unsafe act. We would have never done that.
No.
But those are the days that we met. And I've known you ever since, obviously, just because, we're both I'm from Eden. You live in Eden now. And it's just a small town. And all those years, I moved away for a lot of years between there.
You did. And then I think it was when you guys moved, was it back to Eden? Then, and because I was working at the gas station.
Yeah. And
that's when it was kind of like, catching up and
I don't know if you even know this. I'm a big buy local guy. I know you know that. Yeah. All about small businesses, supporting small business locally as opposed to bigger stores.
Right.
And I would go out of my way to get gas at Slattery's, at Mitch's, because I knew the owner and I knew you worked there and I wanted to support. Yeah. And we would order pizza there and all that stuff. These small towns, people listening to this. So we don't have a lot of viewers outside of the area yet, but in a year when we have 700,000 subscribers.
Right.
Oh, by the way, go like and subscribe. When we have 700, they're going to go back and listen to some of these episodes. And they're like, what? Yeah. He went to the gas station and got an employee there and also ordered pizza there. Yes.
Yep.
That's how it works around here.
One gas station town.
One stop shop.
850 people in town that I grew up in, and that's where Jen lives.
Yep.
And I went to school with your husband's brother. We graduated together. I mean, just so everybody knows everybody. Yeah. And I don't remember. Did you approach me or did I approach you about working here?
I sent you a message that started off as a joke.
Okay. I had this. Here's the weird thing. I had this conversation with Dave about how he started here, and I vaguely remember these things happening.
Yeah.
But I hire people I know and that I know will fit in.
Yeah.
And so did I post something on Facebook or did you just message me?
No, you were on the live and you had made comment of, oh, hey, by the way, if you know anyone looking for a $10 an hour job of just checking in our shipments,
I'm
looking for someone part-time. Yeah. And that was when Scott and I were talking, and I was ready for a change from my current job, not because I didn't appreciate, I love my employer.
Oh, no, he was
Mitch
awesome.
did great, yeah. It was just time consuming.
Well, your kids are getting older.
Yeah, Kendall, I knew Kendall was going to be a freshman. I didn't want to miss stuff. So it was like, I need something that I can be home. Because even when I was home, I still wasn't there because phone calls and stuff and having to go back in. So that's what it was. And Scott and I were listening to the live, and that's when it was like you were done. And I thought, I'm going to shoot it like jokingly, like, do you need to know a lot about what you're checking in? And you're like, no, why?
I very unjokingly replied.
Like, no, why? And I was like, I said, it's time for a change. I said, I'm going to start looking for a new job. And that's, you messaged back and was like, you need to come in and come talk to me.
Yeah. Because
so I looked at Scott, like I was like, oh crap, like he's
this
being
is for real now.
I'm like, Scott goes, well, go in and talk to him.
All Scott
That's
saw
all it
was
is.
discounts and firearms.
He's like, all you do is go talk to him.
Scott was a customer of ours before you were
here.
Yeah.
So then
more times than you, he probably told you, I'm sure. I mean, you can look it up in the system now.
I knew. We big purchases. We have that agreement of if you don't want me to spend $200 on a pair of shoes without you knowing.
You can't do it. That makes sense.
So he's like, just go talk to him. It won't hurt. It can't hurt anything.
Do you wear $200 shoes?
No.
Okay.
No, I spend more on my kids' shoes than I do.
I was going to say, good Lord.
Mine.
Well, I know those are $200.
No, garage sale.
Ooh.
I got them for free.
Free at a garage sale.
Because it was my best friend.
I was going to say, those people don't know how to garage sale.
She tried to sell them, and she's like, and I tried them on. I'm like, oh, no, they're a knockoff brand. They're not real.
A knockoff of what? They're just sandals.
Birkenstocks.
Oh, are they? Shit.
They're knockoff.
What are we knocking off? We were talking
fashion thing.
To you are the least fashionable people in the building, right?
They're a high brand sandal, but these are knockoff. But yes, so she's like, here, I didn't sell them, just take them. And I love them. I hate shoes. I'm a hillbilly.
Yeah, okay, well, we already all knew that. I mean,
when I'm at home, I'm on the yard barefoot.
That's why you and Scott are still together 23 years later.
That's right.
Yeah.
Two hillbillies.
So we brought you on board. It ended up working out. By the way, I don't remember it being a $10 hour position, and you actually run payroll now too.
I do.
And I see it, and I know that I'm not only paying you $10 an hour.
When we
you've
talked,
been promoted already.
We talked, and that was my first question to you was like, I can't quit my job for $10, and you're like, no.
No, you're
like,
if
you're gonna do
responsibilities, right?
Like, we'll bump it to this, and it was a big, little change, but big for us. And
how long were you at the gas station?
Altogether, Core's 10, so 10 years.
And you did
6 years as manager.
Before that?
I've done a little bit of everything, but I worked at the bank before that, and then I was actually a janitor at Pleasant Lake Elementary.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That doesn't sound fun.
Then before that was babysitting, and then I worked 9 years at Fashion Bug when they were around.
Yeah,
so
that's your retail.
That was when I was 17 I started.
This is, and I'm just going out on a limb here. This is probably one of the more relaxed jobs you've had in a while.
Yeah.
It's because we don't care. I don't know if that's a good way to put it.
We care.
We care.
We just don't mind.
But if something comes up,
I like the way you put that. We care. We just don't mind.
Yeah. We, at the other one, it was, I couldn't call off. Mm-hmm. Unless I was deathly sick, I didn't call. I never called off. Mitch always made the point, though, if my kids came first, and he knew that.
Yeah.
So it was, if I called him going, hey, he's like, I'm on my way back, go. Yeah, he'd so it wasn't that, but it was just other situations.
The benefit of working in the shipping department is it's very important. Things need to be, we can talk about how a gun shop runs. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is the crew right here to talk about how a gun shop runs, right? So I'm our main buyer. So I own the place, and I don't work out on the sales floor nearly as much as I used to. Everybody's heard the story. I started this company out of my garage, and at one point, when the first retail space, it was just me, right?
Yeah.
But I'm our main buyer, so I'm the guy that kind of has my my thumb on the pulse of the industry and what might be selling and what new products might be coming out. And I'm the one that has control of the bank account. So those two things kind of go together. And so I buy all of the products completely unknown to Jen, to any of the employees here, really, until I come out and say, oh, hey, by the way, we've got a couple of these things on the way. And I very rarely do that. They just show up. We got a buzzer at the back door, and we get 5 deliveries a day. And that buzzer goes off, Jen grabs them. And then what a lot of people don't understand is every serialized item in this industry is tracked legally. I think a lot of people do understand that, but I think some others don't quite understand how it works. So that receiving isn't just a open UPS boxes, put a price tag on it, and put it out on the floor.
Yeah.
In fact, interestingly enough, we talk about this being the most laid back. You probably have the most stressful job.
I would say.
From me.
Yeah.
And I'm not a stressful boss, but
no.
I'm just today, I grabbed 2 tags. I'm like, hey, Jen, and I used the hard R word, right? Yeah. I said, somebody's going to think you can't say that anymore.
No, you can't.
I mean, I do, but I'm not going to say it on the podcast.
Yeah.
So anyways.
In shop's one thing.
Yeah, in shop's one thing.
We say a lot of things.
I grew up in the 80s and 90s, right? But yeah, I said, somebody's going to think we're not super intelligent people here because these are priced. And I said, just go fix it, and you, like your job, you receive these items in completely unknown that they were even showing up. And then you have to figure out what to price them at so that Luke's not going to be irritated and that we'll also make money and that we can also get a customer to buy it.
Well, and everything changes all the time.
Every day.
It's not like you're checking in ground beef patties,
right?
Or things, candy bars.
It's $3.99 a pound.
That candy bar has been the same price for how long? It's way different. It's a way different situation.
Those 2 items, it was 2 Henry Golden Boys. One had a large loop, one didn't. They were 2 different prices. They should have been different prices. Yeah. And I already know what happened. It wasn't even your fault. It's just that we received one in, we priced it accordingly. Yeah. And then 3 weeks later, we received another in and priced it accordingly. But now those prices have changed accordingly.
All the time.
So yeah, you have one of the more stressful jobs, keeping up with that.
Yeah. And I put a lot of pressure on myself.
Because you're a perfectionist.
That's why you're good at it.
When it comes to, that type. So I automatically took those. I scanned both of them to see what did I do? Why did I do it?
And I didn't
why did I do it that way? Yeah. But I like to double check myself. So, and I did. And
did you get it fixed?
I did.
Okay. Just making sure.
I did.
I never double checked.
New tags are out.
I never inspected what I expected. And going along with receiving serialized items, it's not just the price thing. So this podcast is not free. Dave and I spent well over $5,000. No, good Lord.
Stuff.
There's a lot of stuff. With some of the stuff on the way, we spent well over $16,000 preparing for this podcast. And this desk that we're talking at, it wasn't free. Plus, these lights don't run for free. And again, to reference, I have tried to get you guys to work here without taking a paycheck, but you won't. No. So, pricing things is very important. But also, it's the legal aspect. Yes. You had a question for me yesterday.
Yeah. And that's more that's my biggest fear because I know the repercussions of that is going to be a lot different than just saying, hey, fix this.
Yeah. I can't say out loud that if I lose my license, I'm going to burn your house down because if it ever happens where we lose our license and your house burns down, I would be the first place. So I wouldn't say that out loud. Right.
Right. Don't add any more stress to me.
Was I supposed to talk
like
more?
The conversation we had earlier.
Was I supposed to say more to that?
Great.
No, the other thing is on a scale of 1 to 10. Well, I'll ask Dave. On a scale of 1 to 10, firearms experience, just in general, where do you think you're at?
7.4.
Okay, so I was thinking 8. Because you're the guy that'll never give yourself a 10.
No.
So your scale's already
I don't know revolvers.
Sure.
So drop me down there a little bit.
Would you consider yourself an expert in the firearms industry when it comes to most?
Yeah, I would too. I would.
Jen, on a scale of 1 to 10?
Yeah, I'm a 1.
Yeah, it goes back to you messaged me. Do you need to know anything about guns?
Yeah.
You own a gun.
I own a couple guns.
That's to the extent of your knowledge. I own a couple guns. I like how she said now. She has added to the collection since she started working here.
Everyone does.
I have.
Imagine a crackhead working in a crack store. That's crossed rifles. Right?
Yeah, pretty much. But I try to absorb. I ask questions.
Oh, you ask
I'm a person. I ask smart questions.
You ask the right questions.
And I like to absorb knowledge. I may not retain it immediately. but a little bit of it. I mean, no different than when we got the revolvers and I asked Bob, how do you open it? How do I, it wasn't your normal.
No, they were single action, rigger wranglers. You got to pop the pin out and do stuff. Yeah.
So he showed me. So then it was, I went through and did the rest of them and okay.
I think a lot of people don't understand the ramifications of logging something incorrectly into our bound book. Yesterday, I'm going to give our example from yesterday. It's a perfect example for people to understand how difficult this industry can be and how easy it is to lose your license and why we're so stickler on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it also goes back to, believe it or not, profit margin and running a small shop is I have to pay somebody. I pay a membership every year to just decipher the legalese that the ATF puts out.
Right.
And that membership costs me a pretty penny. I also have insurance to cover if I ever get audited, and legalese is what screws me over. I have to pay a lot of fees just because I'm not a big box store. I don't have an attorney on retainer. I don't have an attorney on staff that's reading through some of these things. But yesterday, so years ago, Stevens was a model of shotgun. Stevens was a brand of shotgun.
Yeah.
And Savage bought out Stevens. I don't know when or how.
Right.
They bought the name, right? They bought the company and started using the name. And Savage doesn't make those in their U.S. factory where a lot of the Savage firearms are made. So you can get a Savage Axis or a Savage 110 bolt gun.
Right.
And it's a Savage. It's a Savage 110.
That's it.
It's made here in the U.S. Yep. Well, Savage licenses out the Stevens shotguns to Turkish companies.
Yep.
I'd say a majority of the shotguns being sold in the U.S. are made in Turkey.
Oh,
and they're great.
100%.
They're great quality.
Yeah.
We have no quality control issues over most of them. We did get one in 2 months ago that was loaded with 8 rounds of shells, of live shells.
Yep.
Were you here for that?
You were not. No, he was gone.
Yeah.
What the shit?
It showed up. Okay, so don't let me forget that story. Squirrel, right?
Yeah.
Squirrel.
So now we had a shotgun yesterday that it was made in Turkey. So we have to say where it was made and by who. And it was made by KFSO. Is that the right?
KOFS.
KOFS, okay. So that was the name of the company, KOFS in Turkey, imported by Savage Arms.
Right.
And the model was a Stevens 555.
Yeah.
And we had one logged in incorrectly because I think somebody else handled it.
It was the old school, they thought of. It
was somebody a little older here.
Yeah.
And they just knew Stevens as a manufacturer. So they logged it in as a Stevens 555, and it is not. It's a KOFS, imported by Savage, model Stevens 555. And it's so important that and the ATF agent that comes and does our audit may not know any of that.
Right.
But if they do, and it's logged in correctly, that's an easy one to catch.
Yeah.
If you're an ATF agent, you know that Stevens isn't made in the U.S., so there better be an importer, all of those things.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, Turkish shotguns. We like Turkish shotguns.
We do, but they're a pain to log.
They're a pain to log because it's not English words.
Yeah.
Like the manufacturers, we can't pronounce them.
No.
I've only ever had one issue with one. We had a broken firing pin on a semi-automatic Bullpup.
Yeah.
And we finally, I think we just gave the guy his money back. I bought the broken gun back.
You did. You did because it was absolutely no joy in trying to find part. We just couldn't get parts for it.
We all tried.
We all did.
Were you here for that, Jen?
Is that the one that's sitting?
It's still sitting back there.
So when I first started, that was a continuous cycle
it started
of
the
trying
old
to
shop.
figure.
It started a year ago.
Oh yeah,
year and a half ago.
A
year ago.
Year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And he's a younger guy, a good customer though.
Yeah.
His dad buys guns from us, and so I just bit the bullet. I bought a broken gun back from him for full price, and I think we sold him something else at a good price.
Yeah.
The only problem we have with those, we get on that website, and even though there's an importer, that importer is some office in an industrial park somewhere that doesn't actually have warehouse space. It's an office the size of this room, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we couldn't get it warranted. But that's the only issue we've ever had. Now, I have a strong suspicion Savage, like if that Stevens broke, you probably replace immediately.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this was one of those no name, bought in the middle of the 221. Oh my God, I can't find any guns, right? Yeah. That's the only issue we've ever had, other than the 12 gauge that came loaded. With 8 rounds or 7 rounds or whatever it was.
It was 6 or 8. I mean,
it was a pump action.
Yep.
And there was some mistakes made on our part because it got put together. but it came disassembled, and so you can look in the chamber and see that there's not around. Nobody checked the tube, which we know better now. But I didn't fire anybody because who checks the tube?
Yeah, and that's a rare duck
on a
right
disassembled
there.
gun in a box with bags around it.
Right.
And interestingly enough, like we check all the guns that come in. We are constantly, all of us.
Yeah.
I went to dry fire a new gun that came in yesterday, and I looked 3 times because it's that weird. What if?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Everybody listening to this that's handled a gun more than 3 times knows that feeling. But that shotgun went out on the wall, and a customer got it, right?
I believe so.
Customer caught it.
Yep.
Either saw or went to rack
Seen
it.
the one or something.
Seen the one in the tube.
Yep.
Because you could see it. It was hanging up higher on the wall, so he could see the brass.
from underneath.
Yeah. And then
brass.
it was when we brought it back.
We determined there was.
That's when
loaded.
we found more.
It was loaded full. Yeah,
Yep.
somebody lost their job over that. Somebody in Turkey, some Turkish dude got hung, right? Because I don't think you just lose your job there.
I think the first offense, they just cut your hand off.
I was going to say, they cut your kid's hand off, and then you go back to work for free for a year. Like, yeah. So, but I that's okay. Whatever.
And you lose sandal privileges
Do a better
too.
job, bud. Whatever. Yeah. So we called the distributor because we buy these Turkish guns through distributorship. That's how it works in the firearms industry. Very, very rarely are we buying direct. We have accounts with 7 of the top 7 distributors and several tertiary distributors, the smaller level ones.
Yeah.
Which also complicates your job. Because they don't always send invoices.
Yep.
They don't always tell us how much we paid. I bought it and you get a thing.
I think there's been twice that I got so frustrated going back through emails trying to find an invoice that I could have through the computer. And I have not been.
I just stopped buying shit from them.
I have not been upset. Like I don't think I've ever come into work and just left here like ticked off.
Yeah.
I go home, I'm in a good mood. There's nothing ever that, I think there was 2 days though, I think that frustrated me so bad that I'm just like,
yeah. If you're thinking about shit at home, then it's been a bad day at Cross Rifles.
Yeah.
Because we don't really take anything home from here.
No.
I take that back. Chad does.
Yeah.
Chad comes in all the time to double check things. He was in today to double check it.
Yeah.
He's like, boss, I thought about a thing and I wanted to look at a thing. He's like, it was good. But he goes home and he stresses a little bit.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I take work home, but it's just because I'm working on design stuff or looking up YouTube videos on how to do something I don't know how to do on a computer or, whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't take stress home from work.
No. You go home and work still.
Yeah.
You and me.
Yeah.
I would say we're probably the only two.
Yeah, they're probably.
I can't think of anybody else that would.
The best part of this job.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything when you go home. Dave works
First
a lot
time.
from home because of the not just designing Cerakote, but the stencils.
Yeah,
People don't understand to sprays. If you're going to do anything that's any pattern of any kind, camo, Cryptek, which is patented, so we don't spray Cryptek.
No, we don't.
Of course.
We never do.
Yeah, there's probably some camouflage that's patented too, and we don't do that either. But yeah, we design all those stencils and we cut them here.
Right.
So Dave makes those on his computer.
And laser work too. Laser work, there's a bunch of design work that goes into too. So anything other than just a color, there's some design work or something that goes into it. Yeah.
Which is why it's so expensive. And also, I think I would rather do that from home.
I don't know.
Sometimes it's nice to be here, but I get distracted here a lot.
Oh, you more so than me.
Well,
yeah.
And I get distracted less now because Adam's out front.
Yeah, you used to work on the sales floor.
Yeah, and I was the go-to guy on the sales floor, and if Chad had questions for receiving stuff or anything, it was just nonstop. People needed stuff.
Yeah.
And so it was hard to bury my head into design work, so I did most of it at home then. But I'm not as involved in that. I'm not involved in the front of house hardly at all anymore.
No.
So
you walk out there to say hi to somebody.
And I just throw my headphones on.
Yeah.
And listen to. We like shooting podcasts or whatever.
Yeah. You and I's brains work a lot alike. If you're in the middle of a project and Jen comes up and asks you a question, she just ruined the next 40 minutes of your life. She doesn't know that. She knows that now about me. I think she might be able to figure that out.
Yeah.
I can't get back into that project. Now, I absolutely have to come up with an answer for Jen, and because my brain won't stop thinking about it until I do, and I can't get rolled back up into that project because it's that ADD weird. They're calling it a thing. Yeah, there's a word for it now on TikTok. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I'm a TikToker now.
I'm allergic to TikTok.
But I don't. But I'm such a TikToker that I don't know any of the popular things on TikTok. Right? Neurodivergent. That's what they're calling it. Neurodivergent. That's for because there's a spectrum, right? Yeah. There's a spectrum of the tisms. There's a spectrum of the ads, right? The ADDs, and that's now you're just neurodivergent. You're
Squirrel.
Yeah, and in different ways.
I think that's kind of my hardest. Sometimes I'm like, focus, guys. Because it's not just you two.
No, it's everybody here.
Yeah. And I'm like,
except for Todd.
Yeah,
Todd can focus.
He can.
Yes, Todd can.
He's the only one that's got it.
Yeah.
I do a decent job. But when I'm trying to figure something out and I'm trying to get...
No. Me, Dave, Chad, Bob, you are screwed. Like we're going to talk, when we're going to tell you about the tomatoes we were growing in our garden before we finish the story.
Yeah. Right. Which I don't mind as long as I get my answer.
But I'm that guy because I can be somewhat socially awkward. I'm a social guy, but what I mean by that is here it's okay because I'm the boss, but I do it in regular life too. And we'll be having a conversation, and I will, in the middle of a conversation where like three of us have been talking for 10 minutes, and you've seen it a dozen times, but here it's normal because I'm the boss. I'll just go, oh, you know what? I don't want to be talking to you guys anymore. I got to go. Because I got shit to do.
Yeah.
And I will say that out loud. No, where that's not allowed is in a social circle. And I do that with...
Is it? Really?
People get a little weirded out by that. Like if you're standing around at a party you were invited to at your friend's house, and there's a group of school parents, you can't just go, I don't want to be talking to you guys anymore. I'm going to go over here. People start to think weird.
Just a minute.
I don't do that. I just say it like I mean it. I don't want to be here anymore.
It's like
we're leaving.
Yeah. I don't go that far as to say it, but I'm just gonna be like, I'm going over here.
It's Scott will get that way. Like all of a sudden he'll just look at me and he'll be like, let's go. Like he gives me a little sign, like, let's go.
So when you're visiting the parents' house, how long does it take you to leave?
My parents or his parents?
I'm interested in both now.
I say we gotta start about 15 minutes ahead of time.
At both?
If we want to leave, okay. Yeah. I mean, I am very blessed with in-laws.
Oh yeah,
I love my in-laws.
Yeah,
like I am the horror stories that I hear, but it is. We'll get chit-chatting, and I mean that's getting kids around and leaving, but I am a chit-chatter, so.
If you're visiting somebody, Dave, you're at somebody's house and it's time to go, how long does it take you to leave?
From the time I decide it's time to leave until we actually leave, 4 minutes.
Okay, so there's a socially accepted number,
maybe
right?
2 minutes.
We all know in the Midwest, right? What you do is you slap your legs
times.
And you go, well, it's probably time to go, and then that starts the 15 to 20 minute process of leaving and saying bye. I don't do that. I look at my wife and I say, we're leaving.
Now.
I'm like, it's time to go. And I actually feel bad for my in-laws because I've been blessed with great in-laws as well. They're great people, but they don't know how to deal with Luke. And still, Steph and I have been together 12 years. They're probably going to listen to this and maybe get some insight. At my parents' house, when my parents know this because we grew up in that house, and I guess I probably got this from them. I don't know. But when I say, well, time to go, they know I'm going to stand up, put my shoes on, and leave. And so does my wife and children at this point because you got about 2.5 minutes before I'm going to get a little freaky. Like it's time to go. At my in-laws, I do that, and they're not used to that. They are the 25 minutes, hugs and byes, and I miss you, and
by the way,
and then I look like the asshole. Which I am.
Because you're sitting in your truck with it running. Honking the horn.
Time to go.
Hey, let's go.
But that's just the way. I don't. That's where I mean by the socially awkward.
Oh.
It's when it's time to go, and when I don't want to be in this conversation anymore, I'm going to go do, because here I got shit to do.
But I think everybody has one of those, because
sure.
I will stand there, like, listen to people. And if I'm not, like, invested in it, I'm like,
your brain starts.
I just leave.
Yeah.
I don't even say bye, nothing. I'm like,
check out.
Yeah. Well, that's why I really like having conversations here with 3 or 4 people, because then I can just dip out as soon as somebody else starts talking.
And so can anybody else.
Yeah.
And it happens.
Because we got shit to do.
Because I do that. You know, I'll be there for like a third of a conversation or whatever. And, you know, because I think I might want to throw my 2 cents in there. And then it's like, all right.
Yeah, I don't care. It's not that big of a deal.
I put my headphones back on.
The contrary to popular belief, we actually do things here. Like my favorite, my famous saying here is, I don't work here. I just own the place, right?
Yeah.
Everybody asks me questions. Yeah, it's just 2 days ago, somebody asked me a question about a thing, and I looked at him.
I was back here.
I didn't have the answer, and he was like, what? How do you not know that? I'm like, I don't work here, dude. Go ask them up front. We've transitioned from I used to do gun shop owner stuff. Now I do business owner shit.
Yeah.
Right. So making sure that the taxes are paid and the roof doesn't leak, and that Jen's running payroll, and that Dave filled out his payroll sheet, and all of those things. So I don't know where your raffle tickets are, sir or ma'am. That's
exactly what it was.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
I don't
know. Go find them. Go ask somebody up front. They know. That's what they do.
That's the problem, is they know you're the owner, though.
Yeah.
They think you know everything.
Well, and you used to know everything about everything always, because you did everything.
God, I hate to say this out loud, but I'm going to give the tip away is I still know.
I know.
But I don't want to act like I know. I just go bother somebody else.
Yeah.
I still know everything that goes on.
You have associates for a reason, though. Employees.
And you see it in here. Like, I'll walk out front and somebody's been looking for a gun for 7 minutes, and they're getting frustrated because they can't find the box. And I'm like, hold on. And I know where it's at. I know where everything is in this building. I know where everything goes on, but I don't have the time to deal with all of them. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you I don't know where your raffle tickets are, and you go up front and deal with it. Sure. And I know the guy that I was talking to listens to these podcasts, so I'm sorry that I lied to you, Russ.
Was it Russ or Gail?
It was one of the two.
Was it Russ? Yeah.
That's one of the two. It was from the AMVETS Post 54. They've got a great raffle going on right now. Jump on our Facebook page and buy a ticket.
And Superhawk is there this Saturday.
Yeah, are they really?
Good band.
Yeah. I did see that on Facebook.
Dustin Creek, drummer. Yeah.
I don't know them.
I do.
Yeah. What else do you want to talk about, Jen? What? Okay. Here's a question.
No. Okay.
Gun questions. Are you ready?
No.
You avoided the gun questions for so long.
I have.
If you could own one gun. Now, you've worked here long enough to kind of know some models now, and you own some firearms at home. Scott's got some guns, right? One gun. You're only ever allowed one gun. And I know you've listened to some of our previous episodes, so you know where this is going.
Yep.
You can only ever buy one gun and have one gun. What are you buying?
I don't know. Logic for me.
There's no rules here. I just want to hear your explanation.
I'd have to go. I would think I'd have to have a type of a revolver. That's all I'm gonna say.
Really?
Because I find there's less jams and from the ones that I have shot. I'm just speaking for what I've done. I think they're more dependable. If people flame you in the
comments, we don't care.
Yeah.
You're allowed to have your opinion on why, right? Yeah.
They very rarely do you ever hear about them jamming or doing, I think for a consistency.
Would you be able to narrow it down to a brand? Have you been here long enough to know some of the different brands of revolvers that you might be interested in having?
Yeah, I say Smith and Wesson.
Okay.
Like the ones that we've gotten in are nice.
Little concealed carry revolver or big blow some chunk out of somebody.
I'd probably hurt myself with a big.
That's what
There's some of them. There's some of them that I know. There's some of them that I look and I'm like, I seriously think I would probably whack myself back in the face. So it would have to be.
We do. We need to have a range first.
We're trying. You have $800,000 I can borrow.
I was just telling about that today when my brother was in here. I've never even shot a Glock.
Interesting. Let's fix that.
So, I couldn't tell you. I've never shot a SIG.
In the next 6 months, so let's fix that.
But that's where I'm just very limited to, I shot guns when I lived at home, but to remember what they were.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't
your
remember.
dad had guns, right?
Yeah.
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 But he didn't hand it to you and say, well, this is a Glock 19 Gen 3, 9mm, magazine fed.
If I remember,
he just handed it to you and said, point it that way and be safe.
It was a revolver. Like, he used to be on the police department years ago. And I remember shooting his police.
Yeah, because he's old enough that it would be a...
And I remember shooting that,
Yeah.
So... maybe that's why. Maybe it's a little bit back then because that's what we had. I don't know.
No, whatever you're comfortable with. It's an intriguing answer for sure. I will say, and this doesn't mean you're wrong, I don't think anybody else here will say revolver, so I'm glad that we had you on because that's like we got
I'm the odd one out.
It's a different perspective. We were talking out front with a customer just a second ago, and I don't remember who it was because that's kind of how it is when I'm out front. And we were talking about how you were going to be on the podcast, and I was telling this person that knows you, who was here that knows you, I don't know. Oh, I think it was Jason. I was just telling Jason, and I'm like, she's a little nervous because she doesn't know that much about guns. And he goes, that's perfect. That's what you need. We need that perspective.
Sure.
Now, everybody here, I think, well, we just brought on a new gunsmith apprentice that might not fall into this category. But everybody here is an expert on a particular type of firearm or shooting a firearm. Mainly the AR platform, I think, because all of us have some actual combat arms military experience. But then you can take it to the next level. We've got Army Rangers that work here, Green Berets that work here that have some extensive, and they're gun nuts. So just because they did that doesn't mean they have the fire experience, but they're that and they're gun nuts, which means that they've really got some experience.
And then you have me.
And then we have you. But that's the problem is, I've had to tell these sales reps, you got to dumb it down. You got to stop. You got to talk to somebody like they're not you. Chad was really bad at it when he very first started because he knows the way to talk guns. Now, and Chad will tell you he's not an expert on a lot of different brands, but then there are some brands that, and when it comes to ARs and certain brands, we're going to Chad for his advice.
The AR CZs.
CZs.
Yeah.
Chad knows the CZs
and
inside
SIGs.
and out. SIGs.
Yeah.
So, and how to build an AR, good God, he used to be one of our major builders here. We build 1,000 a year.
Yeah.
So, but he would tell somebody, so this is a Taurus. This is a G2C. He wouldn't even say Taurus. This is a G2C semi-automatic. It's 12+1, 9mm. What does that mean to a gen that doesn't work at a gun shop? What is 12+1? Why does that number matter to me? Right? It'll shoot plus P's. Well, that's not what that means. But now that I've got two pluses in the same sentence, what am I doing here? Right? So we have to dumb it down, and that's where we like that perspective of somebody that doesn't have a whole. And you're getting a lot better because you're checking all these guns in, and you're touching them and feeling them and put them out on the sales floor.
Yeah. And I don't have one particular brand at home.
Yeah.
Like I have a Ruger that's what I carry. And then I have my, I guess I got my Mark IV. Or
what do you conceal carry the most?
I have my Ruger 380.
Okay. So it's LCP.
Yep, LCP.
LCP or LCP2, do you know?
LCP.
Okay, the original LCP. Yep. Did you know they have the LCP Max now? Have you got to play?
Yes, and I really like their grip on that one better.
Yeah, they are. They're cool.
I do.
I was telling somebody today. I don't like. I need to stop using names on the podcast. I don't think they care. Brent. And nobody knows the names. Brent was in.
First names is okay, I would think.
Well, it's a weird thing in the gun shop because we're a don't ask, don't tell shop. I'm not saying old military don't ask, don't tell. It's we just don't really give information about if you're a customer here or not or what you buy. So, but it's a small town. And people know if you probably have been in the shop.
Yeah.
So Brent was in and he was looking for a pocket gun and he was looking at the SIG 365. It's a little big. That's my primary concealed carry.
Yeah.
Mine is in my truck right now. I'm gonna, as soon as I leave here, I'm gonna do some concealed carrying instead of open carrying like I normally do. And I told him I would probably buy the LCP, and I said, by the way, I absolutely hate them, but they'll go bang every time you pull the trigger.
They will.
The trigger sucks.
Yeah.
The grip sucks. They're not really any fun to shoot.
No.
But
they're effective.
But man, talk about a great little concealed carry.
Super easy to hide.
Yeah.
And they're inexpensive. I don't even use the word cheap. It's not. Yeah. It's just inexpensive.
Yeah. They're affordable.
Yeah.
We had to find mine in Indiana because
you bought it in the middle of the. Oh my God, I can't find a gun.
Yeah.
We had two guns in the case.
So I'm short, I'm squatty, I got hips, so I needed something. 9s were just uncomfortable for me. Like
you
to carry.
Taurus at one point, right?
Yeah.
Did you try to carry that?
Yeah.
Just a little.
I walked around the house with it just to see and to sit and everything. I mean, it pokes up into my chub.
Yeah, I was yesterday. You used the term chub rub.
Yeah, chub rub.
And that's a thing people need to be aware of.
Yes.
Dave and I had a podcast where we talked about body styles affecting.
Yeah.
And tactical muffin tops.
That's it.
Yes.
Yeah, we're chubby guys, right? We're not skinny by any means, and so that's a thing that happens.
It is. So my 380, and I even have to push it towards the back a little bit more on the back side of my hip, but I can sit and it doesn't.
You wear leggings a lot.
I do.
What do you conceal carry with when you wear leggings?
I normally don't. I'm not comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of it falling, it dropping something. So if I do, it's in my purse, and I know that's not I don't like to, but
this is why. No, this goes back to why we want somebody that's not super gun guy walking through the mall and you can pick them out like that person has a gun on them.
Yeah.
Because you're the normal concealed carrier. The average concealed carrier doesn't conceal carry.
Yeah.
They have a permit in their purse, and that's about as far as it typically goes. And then maybe when they're comfortable, and then around here, so we are an hour away from any city, 3 hours away from any important city. And so around here, what you always hear in classes or when you're talking to somebody in a social setting is, I carry when I go to the city. Because that's the only place that crime happens, right? We don't have meth here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's a joke and sarcasm for anybody that can't see the video.
There are real problems here.
Yes.
When they put Loves Up at the toll road, is when I got real uncomfortable.
Yeah,
because within the first 3 months, they had 6 phone calls for trafficking. I'm 5 miles from that.
Yeah.
They can hop on the toll road and just go either direction, and you're never going to know. And
they say this is the #1 sex trafficking corridor because we're so close to Canada. You can get right across the lake, the toll road, everything, right? So it's one of those. But most people, if the gun's not comfortable, they leave it in their nightstand. I would rather you have a gun in your purse than a fork. Right.
Well, I was that person that I'm going to keep a baseball bat next to my bed. Until I took your don't be a victim.
You started that's right. You took a refuse to be a victim course.
Yep.
And did I talk shit about baseball bats? And
you didn't, but
I do sometimes.
The thing that you told me was, can you hit them? I guess it wasn't towards me, it was towards the class. Can you hit them hard enough without them taking the bat and them knocking them down to get away fast enough? Can you do that? I can honestly say, I mean, I'm sure as a mama bear, I would do anything. I didn't want to chance that. So then it was like a year later, I took the CCW class.
Yep. You took a CCW class from, I think I taught that one.
You did. It was when you were in Angola.
Oh, no. You did one in Angola.
Yeah.
I thought you did the private one.
No, I was in Angola with a bunch of people that were qualifying to be instructors. And I'm sitting there like, I just want basic pistol. I haven't shot a gun for years.
That class. I was teaching an instructor class. And you have to take the class and qualify before you can take the instructor class. Yeah. So you had all these former military dudes that had no problem qualifying.
Real awkward.
But they had to take the class. Experts in their field. And Jen.
So when we were shooting to qualify, I mean, they're like, bam, 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 going right. And I'm like,
stood next to
I'm like, bam, bam. It was like slow. I wanted to make sure I hit the targets but they were done and everyone was standing back waiting for me to finish. I was so nervous that day, so nervous. And
you did it.
I did do it.
That's awesome.
I did.
Actually, that's probably the group of guys you least have to be nervous about, being new.
It was just intimidating because I'm like, I'm here just to get the basics. Like, what if something jams? I hadn't shot a gun in probably 10 years. That's all it was for.
And then we fix it. You should be an instructor. We need to talk to you about our next instructor class. So the thing about baseball bats, because you didn't have a baseball bat because you were anti-gun. You had guns in the house. Your husband has guns. He's had guns since he grew up. You were just I have a baseball bat because I personally wasn't comfortable with a gun.
Right.
I get the anti-gun argument for baseball bats a lot. And I ask people, so you're comfortable closing the distance, getting in within arm's reach, and bludgeoning someone to death. Yeah. But you're not okay shooting them from a hallway away. This makes absolutely no sense to me, right? Because if you've got the mindset where you can bludgeon somebody to death, you should be able to point a fire. Trigger. Absolutely, it's worse.
I wouldn't have the guts to do it.
I would. I might enjoy it
if it involved my kids.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, granted, but to sit. Yeah, if it was just me in the hat, I don't think I would be strong enough.
Well, that is the problem. It's not just the being able to bludgeon them to death. You then also have to physically be able to do that. You need to be able to connect on the first swing. And
you better hope they don't have skills.
You have to incapacitate them. Like there's just, they can't, what if they dodge? Then you don't get another swing. That's not how baseball bats work, right? No. And so, the firearm is the force equalizer. It is the force multiplier. I even hate when people use that terms, but it's true, right? God created man and Samuel Colt made them even, right? So it's one of those things, especially as a female. Yeah. We had talked once before about how, good God, you're not supposed to say this, but men and women are different. Yep. And I'm just stronger than you. So there's a good chance that I would be able to overpower you if I wanted to. And that firearm is what equalizes that. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to risk it with my kids now. No. My mindset has changed with kids in the house.
That's where we see it a lot in the gun shop. We see a lot of people that are indifferent to guns. They're not against guns. They just don't maybe have one. And then it goes long enough. We were talking in the sales floor today about how people feel comfortable coming in here and asking questions because we've all heard there's no such thing as a dumb question. And we all know that that's bullshit. Mm-hmm.
Amen.
So we're all afraid to ask dumb questions, right? Yeah.
But I normally am the first one to admit, this may be a dumb question, but...
Right. Well, you have to be comfortable going into a shop or going into a class. You have to be vulnerable enough to know that, hey, I might be asking some dumb questions, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's really okay.
Because that's what we do.
Knowledge is power, is how I look at it. And if I don't ask the questions I need answers to, what I feel, then am I any better off?
No.
Why not ask?
So we see people go 10, 12, 15 years without owning a firearm, and then they get to the point where they don't want to ask the questions that they have because what if it's dumb? And it's been 15 years, and everybody around me has firearms because I live in a small 850 person town, right. So it's just a way of life. And then you kind of continue on. And where we see that typically changes, the mama bear syndrome for women. Yeah. For guys, it's typically after some kind of stressful event. Something has happened where they're like, oh, the neighbor's house got broken into, or my house got broken into, or my wife got accosted, something like that. Yeah. Yep. So, because it's pretty equal here. That's not just women not having guns because they're not. There's a lot of guys here. Oh yeah. Firearms are super common here, and what I mean by that is shotguns and rifles. Yeah. We have a lot of guys that come in, and pistols are not. They're not their knowledge base. Yeah. So we get them scared as well. But so if do you remember the first gun that you shot?
No.
So you think it might have been a revolver?
I would assume. I remember my dad having a rifle that I shot and his police revolver. And that's all I remember.
Did you shoot guns regularly, or was this just a dad teaching daughter?
This was like dad would be home one day, and when we lived out on 20 by Prairie Heights, and behind us was just a field. So we just, every once in a while, my dad would just set it up. Yeah, he'd set cans up, like the old school, and set it. And I remember I shot well, and he was very proud because the center of the can just was gone. He's like...
We call that beginner's luck, but there's an actual reason that it happens because you're not scared of the gun yet.
My wife is the same way.
Yeah. First time CCW shooters, we see that in class. Their first 5 shots they'll hit, and then they start getting a little crazy because they start feeling the recoil and reacting. But
my arms got tired. That was a lot of it. It was and I took my dad's gun, his 9mm. Yep. But no, I don't remember. It wasn't on a daily basis. It wasn't. But in our household, it was my grandpa helped with stuff like that. He helped.
There was guns around.
I'm gonna say this wrong, and if my brother listens or my dad, they're gonna be like, Jen, really? My grandpa had a part in it in the Weatherby. Okay. In making one, and he got a prototype. So that's actually in our family.
Interesting.
If I remember correctly.
That's cool.
That is cool. So it's floating around somewhere in the family.
Yeah.
So it was a part of that. But so it's never been, but it was
Midwestern
never
town. Yeah.
It was never the constantly go out.
Yeah, it's the same with me. My first gun ever given to me when I was 14 years old was a Ruger Mark II or Mark III. I'm not 100% sure which one it was. It's a little 22 pistol. That was the first gun I ever actually owned myself. Now, I had shot plenty of firearms before that, and we shot some pistols here and there. But for the most part, firearms were a tool for use to kill critters.
Yeah.
And that was about it. And then I joined the military, and I got to travel around the world and around the country, and I got to experience the entertainment factor when it comes to pistols and going to ranges.
Yeah.
We didn't have that here.
No.
Again, it's very difficult to explain to somebody that's outside of this area, but we just shot in our backyard. So if the weather sucks or it's cold, like you just all you had was your backyard.
Yep.
Right. The nearest range to this day from here is about a 45-minute drive one way. And that's one of the reasons we're building an indoor range here. But I got to travel in the military and then live 8 minutes away from ranges.
Yeah. Right.
And you realize, this is just a fun thing to do on a Friday afternoon.
Well, especially when you're in the military and you don't have to buy ammo.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, the small amount of taxes.
Go draw a Barrett and,
go shoot stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You're good at it.
I am excited for our range.
Oh, yeah.
Even if it's just a half hour, like to be able to squeeze in a half hour after.
I've tussled around with this so many times. Do I open a half hour early, or do I probably just let the employees come in is what I'm thinking, and just a half hour early or whatever, or stay late as long as somebody shuts the door when they leave and turns everything off.
Yeah.
But it's going to be free for employees to shoot, and probably like super severely discounted for like employee family members. And but I've even thought like, okay, so do we have a specific day? Let's go over some stuff, training. And I want to do all that.
I would like that.
Yeah. All of us would. It doesn't matter your skill level.
The most I shot was during that COVID summer.
Yeah.
We had nothing to do.
Yeah, so you went shooting.
So everything was shut down.
Yeah.
It's the most time we spent with friends and family and having bonfires and like nothing going on. So we spent a lot of time shooting.
So the Briggle family waited until ammo was at its highest cost ever in history, and that's when they shot the most.
We would shoot, like we'd go out to Josh and Aaron's, and, but we just weren't busy.
Yeah.
And like now, like the summer was gone. We were so busy. I think we've shot guns twice, maybe 3 times, and that's it.
Yeah.
Compared to that summer where it was like we were rotating whose houses we were going to, what we were doing, and so it's been
you couldn't go anywhere else.
Yeah,
so you go to your friend's house.
Yeah.
We're gonna wrap this up, but I have questions for you.
Okay.
What is one thing that you have learned, and maybe not like knowledge-wise, but just maybe about us or the shop or guns, being around the crazy tinfoil hat guys that we have here? What's one thing that sticks out in your brain that you think differently about since working at Cross Rifles?
I am so not prepared if anything happens.
It's interesting. The reason
I'll be the first to die. I'm just saying that now.
The reason that question popped in my head is I was gonna go into prepping. And are you ready for when inevitably we all think shit's gonna hit the fan?
Nope.
And that's a conversation that happens so much here. And the look of learning and awe on your face.
It gives me anxiety.
I love watching you stand in a circle of a Marine, a Ranger, a Green Beret, and all of them telling you the things that they are prepared for, and then you going, what in the hell?
I have food for dinner for the next week.
I gotta go buy groceries.
Scott can tell when those conversations have happened because I'm texting him like, we really need to look into buying this. And he's like, step away from the guys. Get out.
Yeah, because we're all crazy.
So it's but there's logic to it. It's not like freak out zombie apocalypse type where I think it's uncalled for.
Right.
But
it doesn't help.
I'm so not.
You've got medics in your family. We've got special forces medics and guys that have seen combat here. So we talk about the medical equipment that you need and
I have none of that. I have Band-Aids.
Yeah.
And Neosporin.
It's better than the next
Listen,
guy.
I will be the first to send out the mass text to everybody. I have beef and pork. Whose house can I come to? We'll bring it all.
We'll trade a side of beef for shelter.
Yeah. Whose house can I come stay at?
Anything else about cross rifles that sticks out in your mind? Just being an employee here amongst people that are different.
I never, if you would have asked me even 2 years ago, I never thought I'd be working at a gun shop.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is just sitting back, listening to your guys' experience, because I don't have any of that.
You're a sponge.
You're a sponge. I feel like a creeper though sometimes, because when you guys are talking and I'm sitting there like just listening, I am. It's intriguing. It's you guys have done a lot of different things.
I remember the other day we were standing in this very room, and we were talking about just situational awareness, and I was talking about getting out of my vehicle and walking towards the door, and how if I'm always carrying something here and I shift everything to my left hand,
you gotta be able to draw your firearm.
I have my keys in my right hand, and I think to myself every time, you can drop these keys.
Can drop them. Yep.
You can drop them. That's not going to stop me from drawing my firearm, because subconsciously, when you have something in your hand, you don't want to drop it.
Right.
So I that runs through my head, and you were just like, you were just listening to that whole conversation and thinking about it.
I have, in all honesty, it's from that class. I put things down and I pay attention forward, like a lot more. And I'm teaching my kids that.
Would you talk to my wife too? I swear. I notice everything that goes on, and she's blown away. But like, how did you see that guy? I'm like, how did you not?
Well, and Mitchell was always telling me, be aware of your surroundings.
Yes.
Like, I was in my little fishbowl at the gas station. Yep. So I had to know who's on this pump and who's over here, who's doing what, who's coming in. A guy left his wallet once on the counter. And Mitch is like, well, do you know? And I'm like, well, his ears were gauged out. He had a piercing up here. He had tattoos on his hand. Like, he had a black shirt on, and he had some baggy jeans, and they had a couple rips in them. And he had dark hair, and it was short, kind of, like just little things. And he's looking at me like,
yes, you
remember?
Know.
And I said, well, when we worked at Fashion Bug, it was pay attention to their shoes.
Really?
Because they would go over, switch them out.
Oh, yeah.
For different shoes, and they put their old... Or watching people when they're looking at jewelry, because it's easy to just... So shrink was a huge thing there, and you had to have under 1% of lost inventory. So it was just reminding myself of when we're out in public, and a lot of times it's just Cora and I walking in Walmart, and I read the Facebook posts of, hey, Angola Walmart, there's guys that have been paying attention, or walking the parking lot and stuff.
Every Walmart in the country.
Yeah.
So my daughter's life is worth more than anything that's on my phone.
Yeah.
So that's why I chose, when it's her and I focus on getting to the vehicle and paying attention. And I tell her she likes to help unload, and I'm like, you get in, get your seatbelt buckled, shut the door.
Yeah, because then she's safe.
Just,
Yep.
I mean, for the most,
I mean, then we have the fighting chance instead of somebody grabbing her.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
So it's weird. Like, it's little things that go through my head. But you guys make me think a lot about how sheltered I am.
Everybody thinks of guys like us. Dave and I, every guy that works at the shop is the guy whose wife knows I'm sitting with my back to the wall. And that's about the extent. Like, that's what everybody kind of just thinks. And that's the online meme joke, is like, I'm the guy that sits with my back at the wall at the restaurant. It's so much more. I'm watching their waistbands. I'm watching how they walk. Yeah. I can tell if somebody's typically carrying a firearm concealed because their arms don't swing the same way.
Yeah.
I am watching all of those things. And you get to hear all of the crazy. And most of those, by the way, statistically unnecessary.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We're all just a little crazy.
Yeah.
And I hear all that.
I don't get worked up about it anymore. Like, I mean, I used to, like, fresh off of deployments and stuff. I was wound pretty tight.
Swerving for boxes on the side of the road type things.
Yeah. And I don't get too worked up about it anymore. But that doesn't mean I don't pay attention. I'm pretty vigilant. I'm just not hyper vigilant, I guess, anymore. It doesn't affect me like, I'm worried about that guy. I noticed that guy, and that's enough. I notice that guy and I pay attention to him. And I'm
going to turn a little bit so that I can keep him in eye.
Sure.
So we people on this podcast aren't going to know, but I'm the only one that parks where I park in this building.
Right.
I'm the only one that has covered parking because, I own the place.
Right.
So I have covered parking, and I'm the only one that goes out that door. So I'm the only one that relocks that door. And I get the tiniest shot of adrenaline every day when I leave because there's no window in that door. Mm-hmm. So I open that door prepared to kill somebody.
Yep.
And there's a little shot of adrenaline. That probably sounds crazy to Jen.
No,
because you have a similar situation in the door you leave out of.
Yeah.
But I'm the only one that leaves out of my door, and it's covered, and there's areas to hide. Mm-hmm. So I do. When I open that door, there's just a little bit of it's time to maybe kill somebody.
Being at the gas station at 4 a.m. by yourself.
Oh yeah, same adrenaline. You're getting that
and
same
before
feeling.
Loves was there, people would be parked out waiting. Like I remember, van full of guys. Mm-hmm. Literally all men, and I drove around the block and pulled cameras up
to see,
and they were not leaving. So I knew I had to get into the store. So I parked as close to the building as I could, because normally I park closest to the dumpster back there, so there's room. I parked as close as I could, and as soon as I shut that door, one guy walks around the corner, and he luckily seen, and he's like, "Ma'am, we're not trying to scare you." Like he was very had his hands up, like he was like, "We just came off the toll road. It's when they started shutting all the gas stations down.
They had no gas." And
he's like, we're here to get gas. Like we're not trying to frighten you, But it was still that whole there's a car here full of people.
We could just never see
and
you again.
Mitch always said, "There's nothing in here worth your life. Mm-hmm. Don't open the door for anybody. Like I don't care." So it was I'm like, "You're gonna have to give me a half hour. Like I have to get." And he's like, "That's fine. We're just gonna stay in the van."
That was nice of them to tell you, but it's also
then
scary.
I've had people bang on the windows as I'm there trying to get my drawer put in, and we need gas. Totally different scenario. And it was
we're out today. Sorry, see ya.
So
you turn the pump on for everybody else. Just tell them, sorry, that one's out.
Yeah, the whole adrenaline thing I get, like when you're the only one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I got the crap scared on me by cops one morning because the alarm went off. Something set the alarm off. So then they're there, and he's like, "Ma'am," and I'm like, "Whoo," because he come out from the stoplight. And was walking up the sidewalk checking things. So I pay attention to around, nothing. And he's like, "I'm sorry to scare you." I'm like,
we had a situation where the front door wasn't locking correctly here, and I had somebody walk right in one morning.
Really?
Like this isn't. And this is before we had the door dinger.
Yeah.
Everything's disarmed. The door dinger's not going.
Boom.
And there's a guy walking in the door at 8:30 in the morning. It's a good way to get shot. Mm-hmm. Scare the shit out of me.
I got to the old shop one time, and I think you had been in and turned the lights on and stuff, and then left.
Yeah.
And I got to the old shop, and I was there early. It was 8:30 in the morning or something like that, and you had already been in there. But all the lights were on. Nobody's vehicles that I knew were out there and stuff. And the door was open, and I was just like, "All right, it's time to clear the gun shop."
Clear the gun shop.
And
absolutely.
I did, man. I flipped the light on, went down the basement, went upstairs, did the whole thing, just made sure.
That's kind of the nice thing about here, though. When I got here early that one morning, nobody was here.
Yeah.
I just set my stuff down, and I stood for a good 30 seconds of just listening.
Yeah.
Listening to if anything out of the ordinary. So then it was I peeked down the hallway, just looked real quick, and I'm like, okay, let's got to work.
Yeah.
But
well, hey, freaky stories about us leaving work is a good way to end it, I think. Dave, do you got anything to add?
No, I think we're good to go.
That's a good episode.
One, yeah.
I'm going to repeat it because we didn't say it much at the beginning. If you've made it this far, like and subscribe. We do giveaways. Saturday morning lives on our Facebook page. Feel free. It's Cross Rifles Training on Facebook if you're listening to this and you don't have our Facebook page. But we do giveaways. We're going to start transitioning those giveaways to the podcast.
Right.
It's going to be easier than me having to be here on Saturday mornings and do that live and come up with something to give away. And so, make sure to like and subscribe because that's going to be one of the qualifications to earning a giveaway. I'm not going to give something we're talking large firearm packages, things that are expensive if we're not being supported. It's just kind of that easy. So, like and subscribe, hit all the social medias, the Book of Faces and all the things, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Peace out.
See ya.